This Sun-Gazette video coverage is proudly sponsored by Woodlands Bank.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Sports Talk for another week. I'm John Gerardi, sports editor at the Sun-Gazette, alongside, as always, the Dr. Chris Masse. We're going to break down some football again from week 2 and look into week 3. Kind of a lot to get into, so let's kind of jump right in here. Williamsport here beat Hazleton 23-6, second straight win for them. What also kind of sticks out is their defense. That second straight week they haven't allowed an offensive touchdown. Hazleton's score came on a kickoff return. You have to be happy for Williamsport that your defense is playing this well early on in the year.
Yeah, it's hard to lose when you don't give up any points, and they're playing pretty awesome in all facets. The linebackers, especially, like the defensive line's been outstanding. They're getting a great push and stopping the run. But the linebackers, they lost all 4 from last season, and all 4 were really good players. And now you got guys like Stanley Tidwell, who had the pick 6 that kind of turned the game around. He's stepping up. Lucas Naughton has like 25 tackles through 2 games. So a lot of different guys are stepping up, and it's like baseball. If offense can come and go, but if you got great pitching, you get a chance to be in every game. And it's the same thing in football with defense, so that's a great foundation for them to be building on.
Elijah Way, 152 yards and a touchdown. But I thought the run game also complemented them really well. They ran for 127 yards. They were able to get kind of both the passing and running going and kind of being able to do it effectively against Hazleton.
Yeah. Elijah does know the way to the end zone. We're going to try to get that in every week, folks. I'll make some kind of way joke there. But yeah, Kyrie Whaley is building off of a good season last year. He kind of broke out a little bit. He's running well. He's among the top 10 area leaders in rushing. And with the weapons that they have, like Kyreek Bradshaw and Trey Schroeder in the passing game, Aiden Everett, Giovanni White, the list goes on. They don't have to go out there and rush for 200 or so yards a game. Just do enough to keep a defense honest, and they're doing a great job of that. A lot of linemen back from last year, that helps too. So when you got those guys with experience up front paving the way, they've got a nice mix working.
And obviously Williamsport is now 2-0. They get Central Mountain this week, which we'll talk about later when we look at the week 3. But for them to be starting 2-0, do you think that's given them a little bit of confidence kind of early on in this year to as the season kind of progresses?
Absolutely. And they've fought uphill battles the last 2 years. They got off to 1-4 starts both times, and then they rallied late and finished 5-5 both times. So I think, especially with a fairly young team with a lot of moving parts, to get those wins early on is really big for them. And we'll get into the Central Mountain game later, but you don't want to look too far ahead, but I think their schedule is set up in a way that they have a good chance to keep this momentum going.
Kind of moving on here, Montoursville, last week you were at Montoursville against Milton. Montoursville with a 20-0 win. You wrote your column about Christian Banks, and he keeps making plays and hasn't stopped. He kind of put the game away with 3:44 left with that touchdown last week to make it a 3-score game. Just talking about the impact that Christian has on this team.
Big time. He made sure the banks were closed when it came to the Milton offense. Zing! He's a 3-year starter as a junior. And like I wrote in the column, you could tell right away that he was going to be a difference maker for them as he gained more experience. So he's a workhorse running back. He got stronger as the game went on. He's got some speed, but he doesn't go down easy. And he's the kind of kid that, those 3-yard gains, 4-yard gains early in the game, they might not seem like a lot, but he's the kind of kid that the more you hit him as the game goes on, the more, as a defender, it starts to wear on you. And I think we saw that late in the game. And then defensively, he's been a great linebacker for 3 years, and he has a nose for the ball. I think he's one of the anchors on that defense and really solidifies the linebacking core.
To kind of go, on the other side for defense, I thought they did a good job holding Doyle. He had just 72 yards on 13 carries, and Doyle's a heck of a running back for Milton. I think from that perspective, their defense has to be happy with the fact they kind of really limited him and didn't let him get any of those, didn't break any kind of crazy runs that he's capable of doing.
Yeah, they did a good job against the run throughout the game. Milton ran the ball really well against Shikellamy, and I thought Montoursville's defensive line was outstanding. They really won that battle in the trenches against a pretty big offensive line. that Milton had, so that was a great sign for them. Kingston Fisher's been a force up front in the first couple of games. I was really impressed with Noah Rakestraw, especially in the first half. He was all over the field. They have some linemen, again, going like Williamsport. They have some linemen that are back from last year that kind of got into starting roles as youngsters, and now that experience is paying off. And anytime you can win the battle in the trenches, you got a good chance to set yourself up to win the game.
And Jimmy Musina, 10 for 18, 156 yards and a touchdown. As a team, Montoursville outgained Milton 307 yards to 169. So Montoursville's offense was able to kind of get things going and spread it around, both pass, run, and kind of do different things. And then it was just an all-around solid game from Montoursville where the offense was clicking in all facets and the defense was doing what they had to do to pitch that shutout and not let Milton get anything going.
Yeah, and Jimmy Musina threw for 1,000 yards last year, even though he wasn't the starter until week 3. Banks had almost 800 yards last year, and I think that was as a sophomore. Hayden Harvey in the backfield's a player to keep an eye on. They've got a lot of different receivers, some young guys. Carlos Tira had 3 catches. Braden Burkett. I almost forgot the freshman's name. He's going to be a really good one, I think. So they've got a nice mix in the running game and the passing game. Defenses can't really key on 1 or 2 guys, so that's a great thing that Montoursville has going. And I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but they're going to need it all to be going against Danville on Friday.
Yeah. Another game here last week. Loyalsock with the tough loss to Southern Columbia, 47-0. I think some people were kind of wondering how Southern would rebound from that loss week 1 against Wyomissing. Obviously, silenced anyone who thought they might be struggling early. Loyalsock's offense just couldn't get anything going against Southern Columbia. They were held to just 93 yards, couldn't run it well, couldn't pass well. But, that's just a credit to Southern Columbia being Southern Columbia and kind of doing what they do and just not letting Loyalsock get anything going.
Yeah, it was – anytime you play Southern, it's tough. And they were kind of walking into a hornet's nest. You were getting an angry Southern team. Home opener, Jim Roth going for win number 500. So – they were kind of facing a stacked deck there, but this is a young Loyalsock team. There's going to be some bumps in the road, and not the first team to get blown out by Southern. Certainly won't be the last.
Yeah.
So I think we'll get a better feel for where they're at as they go forward, starting with Hughesville this week. But I think there's still reason to be optimistic for Loyalsock. I think they have a line that's better than it played against Southern Columbia, and they have some exciting playmakers that just have to get more playing time. So the sky's definitely not falling for Loyalsock. I think they'll still be a team that can make some noise.
I'm just saying, if you're Justin Van Fleet, there's obviously some takeaways and positives you can take from that going forward into week 3.
Yeah, and they're not going to face too many teams as good as Southern Columbia. Their schedule's tough, but when you play Southern early in the season, that definitely opens your eyes, and you never want to lose a game, but when you play a team that good, it kind of shows you maybe there were some areas that Loyalsock thought it was getting buy-in and that they needed to improve on, and now a game like that shows you exactly what you have to improve on moving forward. So you just got to take the whatever positives you can from it, keep getting better, and keep the big picture in mind.
And obviously we don't cover Southern Columbia, but, like you said, Jim Roth got his 500th win. The only 5 coaches, he's just the 5th coach in the history of the United States at high school level to do it. Only one ever in Pennsylvania. It's crazy to think he has 500 wins, especially when you take into the fact in, I think it was the early 80s, there was talk of getting rid of their program of football.
It's nuts. That's amazing. It's hard to wrap your head around, no matter. It's a 10-game regular season, and 500 wins, it defies logic. It's, in basketball, we have Ron Insinger, who's up, I think, over 1,200. I lose count. There's been so many milestones along the way.
Seems like every year, there's another one.
And that's mind-blowing, too. But there, that's used to be a 24-game regular season. Now it's 22. But 10 games a season. Obviously, they're making deep state playoff runs every year, but it's still hard to wrap your head around that you can win 500 football games. Yeah,
it's just a ridiculous accomplishment for him. And I don't think Roth has any. I don't think there's any slowing down in the near future for him. I think he just loves coaching. He's going to be there for a few more milestones, I imagine.
Yeah. It reminds me of of what Jerry Seinfeld would say about, why would you leave a non-pony country to why would you leave a pony country to come to a non-pony? Same thing with Jim Roth. It just doesn't make sense.
Very true. Last one we're going to hit on quick here before we head on into the next installment. For the last game here, Canton and South Williamsport. Canton with a 17-8 win over the Mounties on Saturday. You were there for that one. Obviously, you love offense, and but a good game from a defensive perspective for Canton to limit South Williamsport and not let. I think the big takeaway was they didn't really let South mount too many of those long time-consuming drives that result in touchdowns.
Yeah, they pretty much jammed the box and dared South to throw the ball and said, "You're not running on us," and did a great job up front. And Canton's a really young team, a lot of new players up there, but it's Canton, and they've built a great culture there, and they've got guys that buy in and believe, and they're 2-0, and that was a really good win for them to come on the road on a Saturday morning at 10 a.m., which was rough for me to get up. It was probably tough for Canton too. They get up at like 6 in the morning, but they played a really good game, and they have a lot to build on going forward. I like what I saw from them. A lot of young kids that they can build around, and mixed in with some good senior players like Michael Beers and Ben Fitch and Holden Ward, to name a few.
Yeah, I feel like Canton's defense has been solid I feel like they've been known for their defense for quite a while, and just recently, like the last few years now, they've been playing really well on the defensive side of the ball. And like we said, to limit a team like South to just 8 points, and it kind of, they held them to just 117 rushing yards on 36 carries. Again, they didn't let South get into a groove, kind of running the ball, and like you said, dared on the pass. So I think if you're Canton, that's a big kind of stepping stone going forward, that your defense kind of got that win and held a team like South to just 8.
Yeah, definitely could be a launching pad for them. They got another challenge against Athens on Saturday. But yeah, that's South's a team that went to the state Final Four last year, so yep. I think it gives Canton a glimpse of, I think, where they can get to if they keep building every week. But the defense has definitely been great to start the season. They've only given up 14 points in 2 games, and they've been great against the run, but they're also doing some good things in the secondary with Ward and Fitch back there to help anchor things. They've got a nice mix there.
All right, so that'll do it for this installment. When we come back, we're going to talk about Hughesville, Muncie, Montgomery, and Jersey Shore's games, and kind of get into them and what they did.